Hi, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Helen Schwartz-Grossman, Marketing Manager at Worldox. Before we get started with the webinar, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar will be recorded and the link will be emailed to you afterwards. Everyone is muted right now, but if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the GoToWebinar questions pane. We'll address questions at the end of the webinar. Today's webinar is part of our Legal Technology webinar series, where we'll introduce some of our partners. Join us on Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. First up, our premier cloud hosting provider partners, and today we would like you to meet MindShift. Our speakers today are Frank Mariello, Vice President, Legal Services and Operation Engineering at MindShift Technologies Inc., and Michael Ubaldini, Director of Legal Services at MindShift Technologies. Frank brings over 20 years of IT engineering, consulting, and leadership experience to his role as Vice President at Legal Services and Operation Engineering. And Frank's primary responsibility is to lead the Legal Services Group in the mission to provide high-value IT solutions to the legal marketplace. The Legal Services Group at MindShift Technologies focuses on the delivery of professional services, managed services, and hosted desktop solutions to law firms. Mike brings over 20 years of IT strategy and consulting experience to his role as Director of Legal Services at MindShift. Mike's primary responsibility is to help law firm executives implement reliable and secure business technology solutions, ranging from managed IT and cloud services to complex systems migrations, upgrades, and other comprehensive IT projects. Additionally, Michael serves as a volunteer member of Big Brothers Big Sisters and Phoenix Area Parks and Recreation Park Steward Program. Michael was also the co-founder and board of directors members for nonprofit organization Nick's Cancer Foundation. During today's session, Frank and Mike will discuss how with MindShift you can take advantage of the advanced tools and scalable infrastructure of the public cloud, keep control of key systems with your own private cloud, or do both with a custom-designed hybrid cloud. Thank you in advance for the attention you'll be giving this webinar today. And Frank and Mike, I'm handing it over to you now.
Great. Thank you very much, Helly, for the introduction. I'd like to thank Worldox for the opportunity to talk to some of your customers. We've been a Worldox partner for a very long time, and we really appreciate our relationship with Worldox. We've been able to do some great things together. So thanks to the Worldox folks for giving us the time today. I know it's where I'm at outside of Philadelphia. It's a sunny Friday afternoon, so I know that everybody's probably interested in getting their weekend started. So I'll stay within the allotted time. Hopefully you find some of this information interesting. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to tell you folks a little bit about what we do at MindShift and Rico in the way of Worldox, in the way of our legal services and how we can kind of enable the Worldox solutions. So like Helly said, I'm Frank Mariello. I've been with MindShift / Rico for 20 years. We started our business in 1999, and here it is 2000. We're still going strong. Mike has been with the organization for over 10 years, so we've both been servicing law firms for a large portion of our careers. So it's a market that we care a lot about, and hopefully we continue to have success in that market. So I'm just going to go through a quick slide deck here, and then if there's any questions at the end, please ask them. And we look forward to any feedback that you might have. And if you want to get a hold of us, I'm sure Helly will provide information about how to get a hold of us. So let me start off just by telling you who we are. MindShift has gone through some changes over the years with the acquisition of Rico. MindShift, obviously we're called MindShift Technologies. We are part of the Rico IT Services organization. Rico is a multinational corporation that you've probably heard of. MindShift is a wholly owned subsidiary of Rico. We've been serving the legal vertical for well over 20 years. MindShift's expertise in the legal vertical really comes from two specific acquisitions, a company called Network Alternatives and a company called Union Square Technologies were purchased by MindShift many moons ago. And then obviously MindShift was purchased by Rico. So we all started our business many years ago serving the legal market, and we've been doing it for a long time. We like to talk about this because the cloud computing and hosted desktop solutions certainly are not something in 1999 that were really very, very popular. So when we started our business, we wanted to be able to go out and offer hosted desktop services to law firms, small to medium-sized law firms. Back in the day, it was called application service providers. Obviously, cloud is significantly more popular now. So I think we're safe in saying that we were the first vendor to offer these type of solutions to law firms. Now, obviously, the market's gotten significantly more competitive, which we're happy about. That certainly says something about the health of the market. So we've been in law, like I said, for a very long time. We have a really great team. We've been lucky enough to have some very long tenured engineers and support staff. We've been doing legal applications for a long time, and we've probably hosted over 125 legal specific applications on our platform. In our legal business in general, we're serving probably 300 plus law firms via our managed services, our professional services. And it's important to note that the legal vertical is the largest single vertical at MindShift services. We service other vertical markets, but legal probably represents about 25% of the overall revenue for the MindShift component. So it's the largest vertical market that we service, and it's a market that we've had significant success in and continue to see significant growth in. So we just want to make sure that the market understands how committed we are to the legal space. Okay, let's get into a little bit about our partnership with Worldox. So again, we've been a long-term partner with Worldox. I think it's safe to say that we were the first hosted desktop vendor or application service provider type vendor that entered into a rental arrangement with Worldox, where we can actually rent you the Worldox licenses if you don't have Worldox licenses inside of our hosted desktop. Obviously, you can bring your own licenses to our platforms as well, but we were one of the pioneers of that model with Worldox. They were very forward thinking and were able to see that was going to be a good way to another channel for them to get their software out to the market. So we appreciate their forward thinking in that licensing model. Currently, we host Worldox for 44 customers within our hosted desktop platform. We have more than 44 customers in the platform, but close to half of the customers that we have within the platform are Worldox customers. So we really have a deep understanding of the Worldox infrastructure and understanding how to make it work in these type of environments. And as I said before, we're sitting on top of a really great tenured and highly trained staff on the Worldox suite of products. They've all been formally trained by Worldox, and certainly a lot of them have long-term experiences with many different Worldox configurations. Because of our close relationship with Worldox, we've also had access to their development staff, and we've helped them to tune the software to work in Citrix and hosted desktop environments. And they've been very open to making code changes to accommodate cloud situations. So that, again, thank you to them for doing that. And we look forward to continuing that partnership. So let me tell you a little bit about what type of services MindShift can provide. Right. So our legal services fall into three main buckets: traditional professional services, managed services, and our hosted desktop services. And I'll go briefly into the first two, traditional professional services and managed services, and I'll focus most of the time on our hosted desktop services. So traditional professional services, I'm sure everybody out there is keenly aware of what that is. In traditional client-server networks, we have a great team of professional services engineers that can come out and help you build, design, implement, manage your traditional networks. That group can also work with you around remote access solutions. We have plenty of experience getting Worldox and solutions, other document management solutions working very efficiently within all different types of remote access solutions, whether it be Citrix or RDP. We have a strong security consulting service that's available out of that group as well. We are especially skilled around desktop build and integration. So as you all know, legal desktops are not the simplest desktops in the world to integrate. So we have a great team able to bring all those applications together into a Windows 10 or Server 2016 desktop integrate them all together and deliver them back to you, give them back to your end users. We also have a great network design and build team who can help in those areas. Plus, obviously, as cloud becomes more and more the norm, we have a group of folks within the professional services team that are really good at evaluating cloud solutions, helping customers go to cloud solutions, whether that be Office 365, whether that be Azure or AWS, and figuring out what parts of the infrastructure make sense to go to those cloud solutions. Because sometimes, the key to legal network technology is really the integration between applications, right? Worldox talks to Adobe, it talks to Word, and talks to other applications, and it's being able to figure out how to integrate cloud in a way where you're getting the full rich experience of a Worldox or other document management system, and getting that integrated with the rest of your IT infrastructure. So we're really good at that, and can help you navigate the waters of the cloud environment these days. And it's not always easy to understand where things are going. It changes so fast. Next are managed services. So as part of our legal services group, we have a group that does managed services. This is typically an IT to IT relationship. So if you have a small IT group or even a large IT group, we can enter into an arrangement with your organization where we can basically augment your IT staff. We can help you run your infrastructure, help you manage your infrastructure, patch your infrastructure, whether that be storage management, desktop management, remote access. We can also build custom private clouds out of that group. MindShift and Rico have access to some really world-class data center space. We've put a lot of law firms into their own managed private clouds within our facilities. Depends on customer needs. Some can go into our public cloud, some can go into our private clouds. But our managed services group is a really great group if you're looking to augment what you're doing with your internal IT staff, or if you're looking to offload some of those more mundane but important tasks like patch management, infrastructure management, whether it be managing your VMware system, managing your firewalls, managing your storage. This group can really get into the guts of your network, and we can create a really good managed services relationship. We're very flexible around this service as well. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. If you just want us to manage document management, we can do that. If you want us to manage storage, we can do that. So we can be very flexible how we structure those services. Okay. And then the third bucket is really the bucket we'll spend the most time on, and that's really our hosted desktop solution. That solution has gone through some name changes throughout its life, but the one that stuck the most is the Oasis solution. That's what we call it internally, and often you'll hear it called the MindShift Hosted Legal Desktop. So that solution basically came out of a small business that started in 1999. We went out and decided we were going to try to deliver a hosted desktop solution to law firms. And the reason we did that is because we came from an IT professional services organization that did standard projects for law firms, and we had a lot of great customers, and they said to us, look, we love you guys, but every 3 to 5 years you're coming out and we got to rip out your whole network, and we got to stick in a whole nother network, and there's got to be a better way to do it. So we saw some things in the corporate market around consolidation and centralization with solutions like Citrix, and we thought maybe we can put together a solution where instead of going to a law firm every 3 to 5 years and doing a rip and replace on their network, we could go out there and sell a cloud-based service. It wasn't called cloud back then, but we could sell a hosted service, hosted desktop service that they could basically subscribe to on a per user per month basis, where we would deliver back to them a completely integrated and fully managed, highly secure, high performing hosted desktop package. And that essentially is what Oasis is. Like I said, our first customer came online in about 2000. And today we sit at well over 100 organizations on the platform. We serve about 5,000 end users inside of that platform. We're doing it in about 32 states. About 85% of the users on the platform are law firms. It was always developed as a legal technology platform because really that's where our hearts were, and that's where our knowledge was around applications. So we host many, many, many applications inside that platform, whether it be PC Law, Worldox, Pro Law, iManage, NetDocuments, pretty much any legal specific application that you've heard of, we've hosted or had experience hosting. And that's one of the really important, I think, takeaways of this is this market has gotten much more competitive with hosted desktops. It's a great solution. It really clicks a lot of the checkbox that a lot of small firms are looking for. the market's gotten significantly more competitive, which again is great. I think one of the takeaways for us is that we've done it for a really, really long time. We've done it for 20 years, and that's been you get to learn the ups and the downs, and as you scale this business, it becomes the different tiers of scaling you go through. You have to make different decisions. So we've gotten this thing pretty big, and we continue to have good success with it. So let me tell you a little bit more about the solution. Like I said, this is a hosted desktop solution based on Citrix technology, where we will onboard a customer, integrate all their applications, and deliver their desktop for their firm back to them as a service. As part of that solution, you're going to get a lot of ancillary services and a lot of coverage. We really want to be your complete IT solution provider. As silly as that sounds, I know that sounds very salesy, but the solution is designed to be complete, meaning that we're going to give you the support component. We're going to give you all the operational components that are around it as part of the solution. So we're going to proactively manage the hosted desktop. We're going to watch it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. We're going to watch it for performance. We are going to back it up. We're going to manage the security of the solution. And we're also going to manage all the mundane but very important functions of patching and maintenance of a solution like this. And that includes the application component, right? So as we host something like a Worldox, we're taking care of the application upgrades for you, the patching, making sure that the patches as they come out, they're going to be stable in the platform. And that all gets rolled up into this monthly cost. So there's a lot of ancillary value, especially for a small to medium-sized business that really wants to be in the business of serving their customers, their legal customers, and not really be in the IT business. It's very hard for small to medium-sized law firms to maintain IT talent and to maintain them long-term. It's just not a cost center that it's important to them, but it's not where they want to spend their time or their money. So these solutions have been around for a long time. They're very mature, and we can really offload all that operational IT stuff from you into our cloud, and we can be your valued IT partner. And that's really what we're looking to do. As part of the solution as well, there's obviously a customer care component. We're going to give you very personalized support. The support team at MindShift that supports our hosted desktop platform only support our hosted desktop platform. They do not support any other platforms. They are dedicated. The engineering team is dedicated. The operations team is dedicated to it. The account management team is dedicated to it. So we really believe in the solution, have invested in it heavily. And the team that does this doesn't do anything else. So you really get to know them. They are legal experts. They've dealt with law firms for many, many years. They understand the mentality, the fix it now mentality, the 24/7 nature of the business. And they really know how to service people well from a legal perspective. And we have all the appropriate tool sets to do that well. We have a very sophisticated set of support tool sets. We use ServiceNow as our call tracking system. We have obviously all the remote capabilities in the world as far as doing remote monitoring and remote support, being able to shadow your sessions and doing all the things that you would expect from someone who hosts these type of solutions. We have a very integrated call management system that allows really our engineers and technicians to work from anywhere in the world. Obviously, as this whole COVID thing has played out, we've been able to operate our business very easily by working remotely. The systems are set up to do that, and our customers have had really good success being able to shift to a remote model. Essentially, this service is made to be anywhere, anytime access. Whether you're in your office, whether you're at home, you're going to have the exact same look and feel, and you're going to have a very consistent experience across. And the same thing goes for how we support you. You probably won't know that our folks are working from home and probably don't care, but at the end of the day, you want them to be prompt and courteous and be fixing issues quickly, and that's what they're trained and equipped to do. The other thing is you'll get, as part of the solution, you'll get a dedicated account manager who will be kind of your Sherpa through the world of cloud and the world of hosted desktop, and they'll be your primary business contact. They will walk you through any upgrades and pricing, and they'll be your business contact, and you also have a very close relationship with the support and care mechanism. We really take the customer care portion of this very, very seriously, and I think that that's really a spot that we shine. Technologically, other people can do these solutions, but I think where the real rubber meets the road is being able to really service the solution well, maintain the integrity of the solution from a security perspective and an uptime perspective, And again, to really be able to be a partner with the customer and service the solution, because they're not always the service piece is hard to get right, and it takes a long time to get it right. And I think we've really spent a lot of time trying to get that part of our business nailed down. So we're really proud of what we can do from a care perspective on these hosted desktop platforms. Okay. One of the other ancillary values of a hosted desktop platform or any cloud platform is you're getting all the benefits of, you're getting some things that typically a small to medium-sized law firm is not going to spend a lot of time and money in disaster recovery, in security management. It's just not a cost center that they just can't afford to do what some of the larger organizations can do. So when you step into these hosted desktop solutions, if they're configured and provisioned correctly, you're typically going to improve your disaster recovery footprint dramatically. Right? And when I talk about disaster recovery, I talk about, incidents like fires and loss of access to buildings, outages, internet outages, obviously things like COVID. You're getting basically a large piece of disaster recovery taken care of for you as being part of this type of cloud-based solution. The other things that you're picking up is clearly, if we're going to do this for large organizations, for a lot of people, the type of equipment and the type of services that we invest in are just not the type of services you see in small to medium-sized businesses, right? It's not the type of storage that you would typically buy or the type of networking. So we're using very enterprise class, flash-based storage, encrypted at rest storage from very large, vendors like Dell EMC and Cisco. So we can put you on an infrastructure that is far more capable typically than your internal networks. And we're allowing you to use or we're helping you use this really high-end infrastructure, but you're getting the same look and feel of, the Worldox application and your Office applications that you've always loved. There's no real, they're Windows-based applications hosted in this environment, so there's no real learning curve to change from a regular local desktop to one of these hosted desktops. Again, as the slide said, there's significant redundancy built into the platform. We have geodiversity and backups and replication, which allows us to, again, give you a really, really robust IT solution that the cloud has really enabled for small to medium-sized businesses. And this is clearly a value add and something that folks are pretty worried about these days, especially with all the things that have been going on. The other piece that I think is super, super important is security. So when we started to tell people about this solution in 1999, they looked at us with kind of oh, pardon me, I messed up the slide there. They looked at us and said, "You're kidding, right? You're gonna take my server out of my closet and you're gonna put it somewhere. Like, where are you gonna put it?" Like, the conversations were very comical when you think about them today. But just because your systems are sitting in the back room of your office clearly doesn't mean that they're secure. So we take security extraordinarily seriously. We're dealing with legal data that has confidentiality requirements around it. So we have a very, very in-depth layered set of defenses that get applied to the Oasis platform, to our hosted desktop. Many of these technologies just wouldn't be available to you in traditional local networks or even some hybrid cloud networks. So we try to layer these features on to give you the value of this very large and sophisticated infrastructure. So we proxy internet traffic. We use a package called Sentinel-1, which is I hate to call it antivirus. It's really high-end, very intrusion detection type software. We're using enterprise-grade firewalls. We're offering dual-factor authentication, encrypted backups, and storage. So we're doing all these things as part of the service, right? So there's no add-on cost for these things. They're all part of our service. So it's coming with this really layered set of defenses by default. And these things aren't necessarily important to end users, but they're certainly important to business owners, and they're certainly important to management of the firm. They also help you to be competitive. I would imagine that many small firms that might be listening to this are dealing with a lot of security questions from their customers. You'll get those terrible security assessment documents, and they'll ask you, are you doing X, are you doing Y, are you doing Z? And that's very, very daunting for a business to deal with, especially if they don't have real IT security experience. So by being part of a platform like Oasis, you're getting a lot of that stuff pre-answered for you. We also carry what's called an SSAE 18 SOC 1 Type 2. This is an industry standard certification. Essentially, we lay out a set of controls for our business as to how we do our business, how we hire and fire people, how we manage our technology. We set those controls up very large document, and we go through a third-party audit every year to verify that we're doing the right things from a security and a business perspective. We're going through one of these audits right now. It's certainly no fun, but it's something that we have to do because of the type of data we're dealing with and the size of the systems that we're dealing with. As part of that audit, we also do a yearly penetration test. And again, these things are important because in order for the small to medium-sized firm to be competitive with the larger firms, you need to be able to answer those security questionnaires in the affirmative, or you may not get some of that business. So instead of trying to build this in-house or trying to layer a lot of different cloud solutions together, to being in a fully integrated hosted desktop solution is really something that can answer a lot of those checkboxes. So I'm an engineer by training, so I know the sales guys, when I put this slide in here, they always get nervous. But I'm an engineer by training, and no solution is perfect. No solution is fully secure, and no solution is perfect. So I always like to address some of the objections of a fully outsourced cloud solution like this, and just talk about them honestly, because some of them are very real, and some of them are more just a feeling versus any reality. So there's typically in this type of outsourcing arrangement or a hosting arrangement, there's typically a perceived loss of control. And I don't know that the word perceived is a great word to use. There is some loss of control, right? So again, you go back to those conversations we had in early 2000 about, hey, you're not taking my data, you're not putting that in a data center, that's crazy. Obviously, those conversations are a lot easier to have now as clouds become more popular. But there still are some firms in the thinking of, I don't want to let that data get outside of my four walls. So the loss of control is a real concern, and it's something that typically we can answer very, very robustly. But it's something, if you're thinking about trying to pitch this type of solution internally, I would tell you that people are probably at the management level are probably thinking about that loss of control and that the feeling of having their server in their closet is much safer than having it out there in the cloud. Again, I think that's just a perception problem versus actually real, but it's important to understand. Our hosted desktop environment is designed in a pretty restricted manner. Restricted may have a negative connotation, but it's built in such a way that the desktop is very heavily controlled, and that's really done for performance and security reasons. So if you're used to the type of network where you can do anything you kind of want, where you let your people do whatever they want on workstations, going into these hosted desktop environments, if they're designed and built correctly, they're going to have a layer of restriction built into them to protect you from yourself in some ways and protect you from the security threats that are out there. So that's important culturally to understand, that you will go into an environment. If you came from the wild west, this is certainly an environment. These are certainly environments that are heavily controlled. Doesn't mean you don't have customization. Doesn't mean we can't customize the solutions on a per customer basis. Not at all. We do that all the time. There's a high level of customization available, whether it be in your Worldox software or any of your other, whether it be in your drive mappings or whether the desktop looks, very customizable. But at the end of the day, end users can't just do whatever they want in these type of systems, and we do that by design. And typically our customers are looking for that. The next area I write on here on the objections is high-end multimedia. And this one can be a little dicey too, because obviously in the days of, nowadays, especially with all the Zoom meetings out there, these type of webinars, multimedia is just an absolute use case that's required for small to medium sized or large law firms. In a hosted desktop environment, I'm very careful to tell people that it's probably not a fair comparison to compare a local PC network that's doing high-end multimedia with a hosted desktop environment. The technology has come a significantly long way, and you can absolutely do your Zoom meetings. You can absolutely use Teams, but there are always caveats around high-end multimedia performance in hosted desktop environments. Again, that's gotten better and better over time, but I would never tell a customer that it's exactly the same as using their local PCs. But what you can rest assured is that all those things that you're used to doing, CLEs, listening to your voicemail, listening to you get the WAV file of your email, of your voicemail via your email. All those things absolutely can work and can work well in these types of environments. But it takes expertise and the appropriate design to make those things work well. And I would always say that they're probably not directly comparable to a regular client server environment or a hybrid cloud type environment where you're running high-end PCs. there's an objection, obviously, of putting all eggs in one basket, right? So in a hosted desktop solution like the one we're talking about, you're putting a lot of trust in that third-party vendor. You're basically giving them your data, you're giving them your IT solution. And I don't think there's a lot of firms today, whether they're small or large, who can function with their systems being down for a very long time. So that partner that you choose, it's super important to understand, where they come from, how many people they're doing this for, what type of redundancy they're giving you, what type of guarantees they're giving you around performance and uptime. So there can be objections from everything in one basket. The other counter argument to putting everything in one basket, one thing you're starting to see now is the use of all these different clouds and trying to stitch all those clouds together. And the example I would give you is maybe you're running Office 365 and you're running the Aderant cloud and you're running some other company's cloud. And bringing all those cloud vendors together is not easy, right? So it might be, those individual clouds might be simple and simple to procure and maybe even simple to use. But what happens is, instead of getting the value of the less complexity when you're using cloud solutions, when you try to stitch all those clouds together, you start to get into some complexity. Doesn't mean it can't be done, does not mean that they're not good solutions, but it still requires a good partner to help you bring those solutions together. And the last typical objection you would hear, obviously, is security. And I think we've been through that one. I think we can make a very good argument that these hosted desktop platforms, at least the ones that are configured and built well, can give you a level of security that you're just not capable of getting today with your traditional IT environments. It's just by design. These solutions have to be more secure than what you're dealing with on a daily basis. They certainly are larger targets than maybe your individual IT system, but at the end of the day, that's our responsibility to make sure that we're doing the right thing around security. So I just wanted to mention some of those objections because that's, again, no solution is perfect. And it's important to go into these type of solutions with your eyes open and understanding that you're definitely changing the paradigm. You're shifting from a more traditional or even hybrid cloud network to a fully hosted cloud network is a big change. And it's important to go in and understand what the value prop is and what the objections could be. The next slide, we'll just quickly go through why these solutions make sense, right? So typically the business reasons for these solutions are pretty clear. We can get you into a very predictable monthly fee. You're going to know what your cost is on a per user per month basis. You're going to know what your cost is if you want to add 10 people, and you're going to know what your cost is if you want to subtract 10 people. So instead of the typical IT procurement cycle where you're doing rip and replace type networks every 3 to 5 years and your costs are very lumpy, this is a very predictable monthly cost and it scales very linearly. So you know that if you're a firm that's in the business of expanding, you can scale your business quickly. Obviously, you're getting the values of economies of scale. I've told you that already. You're getting access to equipment and infrastructure that small and medium-sized businesses just don't typically have access to. You're going to hopefully eliminate and simplify your network refreshes. So like I said, we started in 1999. Our first system was based on Windows 2000, NT4, and now the systems are obviously based on Server 2016 and Server 2019. So customers that have been with us from the beginning, we've brought them through as part of our service, all those upgrades. So when they went from NT to 2000 to 2003 to 2008 to 2016, and all those different versions of Worldox and Word through those years, as part of the service, you're getting those upgrades. Nothing's for free in this world. Certainly, you're paying for it as part of your monthly service, but we're giving you a very simple way to bring you through those migrations. And that there's really a lot of value associated with that. And there's certainly a lot of value to the limited disruption. We're doing migrations for customers from, our previous platform to our new platform. We do those on a Wednesday night, right? We'll do some pre-training. We'll ask people to be off the system maybe an hour. And by Thursday morning, they're migrated into the next version of the platform. So there's a huge amount of value to that. And especially if anybody on the webinar has done regular network migrations, you know how painful those can be. We're 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We don't close. All US-based support. We don't outsource any of that support to anyone. It's all our people, all our staff. And that's important. Obviously, there's a lot of players in the market. Some of them do outsourcing of support. We really care a lot about support and think that that's really one of our differentiators. So we choose to keep that all in-house. Security, we've talked about. Remote access. Obviously, with COVID going around and any of these other disasters that have happened over the last 20 years, remote access, working from anywhere is hugely important, right? So I want to get access to my traditional client-server applications like a Worldox, like a ProLaw, but I want to be able to do that anywhere, anytime. I want to give my attorneys and my staff a flexible work style, whether that be in the office, whether that be from home, whether that be from a Regis type space. With this solution, you can really give them universal access anywhere where they have a reasonable internet connection, and you can give them a very uniform desktop experience. And I think that's really, there's a lot of value associated with that. Obviously, disaster recovery, we talked about that as well. The potential to reduce IT expenditures pretty significantly. In most cases, we can probably reduce IT expenditures between 25 and 30%. And we've seen that over 20 years. In some cases we can't, some cases it's more, some cases it's less. But you definitely can find some savings in there if you do cloud right. Decreased number of technology vendors, right? So that was a little bit of that cloud sprawl I was talking to before. Everybody's got a cloud these days, and that's great. I mean, obviously, the more cloud-based solutions that are available out there, the more mobile we can be. We get a lot of value out of that. But as you try to stitch all these clouds together, that becomes some of the promises of cloud and the simplicity that's supposed to come with it, and some of the cost reduction. When you start to get into everybody's cloud, it's hard to bring those vendors together. With our solution, we can bring all your applications together in our cloud, and we can help you manage those third-party vendor relationships. We're going to deal with the application upgrades. We're going to deal with the troubleshooting of those applications, all as part of the service, including Worldox. And we can really streamline your IT and the way you use your technology. And the last point is an important one here, right? It's just this hosted desktop solution is just a different way to deliver the same applications that you're dealing with today. So same look and feel, whether it be Worldox, iManage, whatever you're used to as far as document management or any other line of business applications. We have the expertise, because we've done this for so long and know how to do it, to bring that desktop together and give you a stable, secure desktop delivered back to you via some very specific technology within Citrix that's been around for a very long time. It continues to get better and give that back to you. Obviously, also, we can integrate 365. If that's important to you, we can have you hosted on our own internal mail systems, which is Exchange-based, or you can go to Office 365. So anybody who's doing it these days obviously knows a little bit about 365, but we can integrate your 365 with Worldox within that hosted desktop and manage that all for you and deliver that back to you as a service. We can do that over private circuits, or we can do that over internet connections. So that's really what the message we're trying to give you, is that these solutions can really give you a very utilitarian, high value, high performance desktop solution. And we believe in it. We've done it for a very long time. And it's really the type of solution that if you're thinking about going to cloud, or thinking about doing hybrid cloud or hosted desktop, give us a look and give us a call, and we'd love to talk to you about the ins and outs. So like I said, I would stay on time. I did this in about 40 minutes. I hope the information was valuable to you. I hope there was things in here that you take away from it. I hope you know a little bit more about MindShift and Rico. I chose not to do a demo today because sometimes demos go to the old Bill Gates thing when he's standing up there and doing the Windows 98 demo and it crashes in front of you, or the demos can sometimes be hard to personalize in this type of forum. So if you're interested in demos, if you're interested in seeing what we can do, we can certainly talk to you and schedule those kind of calls. But I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, we certainly can answer those now.
All right.
My turn.
This is Rebecca here, and we've got a couple of questions. First of all, when Worldox is hosted in your environment, how do you end up handling all the patching of Worldox for everybody?
Yes. So when we host Worldox inside of our hosted desktop, we're essentially taking full control of the operation of Worldox. That's typically what our customers want. So any patches that come out, we're going to vet those patches. A lot of times we're working with Worldox on those patches. We're going to wait till the appropriate time. We're going to do those patches within your environment. Obviously, we're going to do those with as minimal downtime as possible, and we're going to manage that process for you. So Worldox is a relatively They've done a good job at making a document management system that's easier to deal with than a big SQL-based document management system. But still, at the end of the day, there's things that have to go on from a patching perspective and an infrastructure perspective that you may just not have the time or the wherewithal to deal with, and that's what we're there for, to do those things.
All right. That sounds great. Actually, I've been wondering whether, what with COVID, have you had, more people decide to, purchase your solution and maybe given you a shorter amount of time to onboard as a result?
Yeah, it's certainly been, COVID is, you hate to talk about any business success when people are going through what they're going through, but at the end of the day, this type of solution was built for these type of situations, right? So now this remote work style, which has been going on for years and years and years, now there's really no choice, right? You have to have some kind of remote work style that works. Now, this may all go away in a year or it may not, but I think this will probably forever change how we operate to some degree. So the remote work style is certainly not something that's going to go away. As far as onboarding, our typical onboarding can be anywhere from 30 days to 90 days. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. But I think we're still in the beginning of this whole thing as far as, the people that are on these solutions are doing well because they're able to continue to function from an IT perspective. What I think hopefully as this thing starts to wind down, there's going to be a real new look at how people are addressing IT needs. Right? There's going to be, so I'm happy to be in this market. I'm happy to be able to offer these type of solutions because I think they've just become more and more relevant. Unfortunately, it takes events like this to highlight that sometimes, but certainly they've become more and more relevant.
I agree with you. Before I joined Worldox, I was a law firm IT director, and we were doing something similar to what you do, but we were hosting it ourselves. And so
Right.
I know how much work it is to host it yourself. And if I was still at my firm, I might choose to have somebody else manage it because it was a lot.
Yeah,
but
sometimes
certainly having.
Citrix.
Go ahead.
Citrix sometimes are hosted desktop. They can sometimes be a bad word in firms, right? Because they've had experiences in the past where they've been poorly integrated or they've tried to do some of this stuff themselves, and some are successful and some are not. What I can tell you about these type of solutions, it does take a certain specific set of engineering skill sets to do them well. What we've seen in the market is because these solutions has become popular, is that we've seen a lot of traditional professional services type legal vendors try to transition to these type of solutions. Some of them have done it well, some of them not. But our business has always been built around this type of solution. So instead of transitioning a traditional business from a regular professional services type business where you bill for your time to a business that's cloud centric, we've had the advantage that we've always been that way. So we don't, it's not a transition for us, which is something I think has played well for us.
So exactly how does the onboarding process work?
So it's a relatively simple process. Once the contracts are signed, you'll be assigned a project manager from our team who has done this many, many, many times. Typically, the process, like I said, takes from 30 to 90 days. The project manager will go through and build what's called a system design specification, and that's just a set of documentation that we get your input on that basically says this is how we're going to design the solution, this is how it's going to be rolled out. These users are going to get these apps, this is the version of Worldox you're going to run. We're going to migrate your existing Worldox to our cloud, whatever the caveats are for the individual customer. We'll boil that down into a document. Typically, these migrations for us, the way we do them over a weekend. Right? We've got it down to pretty much a science where we can come in. Obviously, a lot of pre-work goes into this, but we'll choose a date with the customer. We'll do some training prior to the migration date. Typically, that'll be done remotely, or if the customer wants to bring us out on site, we'll do the training on site. That Friday, we'll go into an implementation mode. The team will come out. They will do the final data copies. They will do the final conversions of your workstations to, thin clients or dumb terminals per se. They will work that over the weekend, and on Monday morning, they'll be with you on your brand new system. So we can take you from a legacy environment to this type of solution over a weekend. We're very successful at doing that. A lot of work goes into getting that staged to do that right. And then we'll be with you for 2 or 3 days, those first 2 or 3 days. After those first 2 or 3 days, we'll transition you into our support system. One of the things that's nice about the way we do it is a lot of the team that works on the implementation side also work on the support side. So the folks that you got to know on site, now this may be different these days with COVID, but the people that got you through your migration on site are a lot of the same people you'll be talking to on the phone as you transition into support. So it's very cohesive from a support perspective, and we think that that's a good way to do it.
And I hate to dwell on the whole virus situation, but I wonder whether, I mean, I know that so many more people are working from home, but it's not your typical, a few people working from home, a few people working at the office. Now you have situations where two parents are both working from home and kids are also at home trying to do remote learning, using up all of their bandwidth. So have you had some challenges in keeping people connected to your system? What with all of that going on?
It's a great question. So anytime you get into somebody's home network, there's all kinds of variables that start to pop up that you just did, that you may not have thought would pop up, right? So we've been really lucky. The solution, I think we've been lucky and smart to some degree. These solutions are typically made to run over low quality or low bandwidth connections. And even though we have great internet connections these days at our homes, those, in comparison to a LAN connection in your office, those connections are typically low quality or low bandwidth. So by default, the technology deals with lower quality solutions or lower bandwidth solutions relatively well. But absolutely, as we've seen people transition to home offices, those, the secretaries that don't typically work that way, or the paralegals that always work from the office. The attorneys, a lot of times they have it, they always work from home, or a lot of them work from home. So they have their setups pretty well figured out. But we've seen a lot of situations where people have really old home PCs, that they have to get onto the solution. And that's one of the values in this. If you can run this very small piece of client software and have a reasonable internet connection, I wouldn't suggest that you keep your Windows 7 PC until smoke comes out of it, but a lot of times that's what you run into. People with a very, very old infrastructure at home, but we're able to get them working and productive, on a modern Windows desktop from a very old piece of equipment. And we're able to do it in a secure way, which is important as well. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest you to keep things that long, but you get into all kinds of situations where you hear, the attorney's son was playing Minecraft and his desktop experience was bad. It takes a little bit to get through that, or that type of stuff happens, or they're in their shore house and it's they have literally like an ISDN type connection. So the connection quality matters. It just does. No, if anybody tells you it doesn't, it does. But these solutions versus a VPN or a traditional remote access, they typically do better over those low quality connections.
Yeah, actually, that makes me wonder whether, I don't know whether you have a preference or whether you leave this to the firms that sign up for your service. But does BYOD, is that like something that you advise people on when they onboard?
Yeah, this is BYOD is kind of a methodology, bring your own device, for people who don't know what that means. I would imagine most people do. But at the end of the day, for me, when we onboard customers into this solution, I don't care a lot. We don't care a lot about what type of device you're using, right? You can use a Mac, you can use a Unix workstation, you can use your iPad, you can use Chromebooks. So it allows for a lot of flexibility from an end user perspective. Anything that I can get a Citrix client on, you can reasonably use on these type of platforms. Some things are better than others, but at the end of the day, what you run from a workstation perspective is not really all that important from us. So if you're the type of firm who, wants to give everyone a high-end laptop, great. You don't have to do that in this type of situation. If you want to, we have people that use thin clients. We have people that use Chromebooks. We have people that use a mix. So it's really flexible from an end user perspective as far as the devices they like. Most of the devices we see at home are Macs, right? So, Macs are a lot easier for home users to deal with because of their kids and viruses and things like that. So you can get onto these systems with your Mac and be very productive.
I'm not sure I'd agree that it's that easy, but I often
I don't think so either.
Troubleshoot my parents are in their 80s and they have Macs, and it's challenging. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, and I think those are the questions that we've seen for today. I think I will pass this back to Hella.
Okay, and Frank and Mike, we thank you very much for doing the webinar with us today. We are going to post a recording of the webinar, so anyone unable to attend today, they will still have a chance to see it. To those of you who were able to join us today, thank you, and we hope you will join us again next week for another presentation in our technology webinar series. So thanks everyone who attended today. Thank you again to Frank and Mike, and have a good weekend, everybody.
You as well. Thank you.